Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Shabbat teaching by TBA Rabbinic Intern Aviva Frank.
It's called People of the Book or People of the Song. So I want you, if you can, close your eyes and think about a song or poem that means a lot to you. Think about the first time you heard that song or read that poem. And is it linked to a time period in your life or a history of the world? So whenever you heard that song, does it take you back to a particular day, a particular historical event? Or every time you hear that poem, you feel it in your heart? And I just want to ask, why do we write poems and songs as humans? Why are they important to us? And does anyone want to share the song or poem that came to mind for them?
I can.
Yeah.
This is very easy for me. I thought of the song "Leader of the Band" by Dan Fogelberg, and it's a song that is written about a person who is the leader of a band, and thinking of the way in which that person has impacted the lives of his children. And my father is the leader of a band, and so the first time that we ever heard that song, it was very emotional because I think my siblings and I were able to hear the ways in which we also think of our own father, and the way in which other people have recognized the ways that music has brought them joy and impact.
Amazing. So Rabbi Shah said leader of the band and how it connects to her father and her family and how music brings joy into people's lives. Anyone else have a poem or a song that resonates with them or linked to a time period in history or moment in their life?
So there's this song called "How Can I Keep From Singing." It is I first learned it when I was at junior college before I transferred to Berkeley, and I think it was one of the first studio classes I had taken. And we're sort of thinking a lot about the power of music and what sort of truths it can help us convey or feel. And one of the lines that really resonates with me in the song, it's specifically talking about music. It says, "It wakes an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?" Which I literally gave up a shiur on it a couple of days ago in one of my classes, and it's something that stuck with me for so long because there's a level of truth and connection in that's hard to convey, but when you feel it, you know. At least that was my experience. So
Beautiful.
It's a song I love.
So future Rabbi Nico shared about a song that's all about truth and love and feeling it in your soul. So I hope you can hold on to that poem or song that you thought about. And we're going to look at where in our tradition are the references to poems and songs and people sang at about moments that were very monumental, that it caused them to, there was no other way to share the information but in a song. And as Rabbi Shah shared before, that when we looked at the Torah portion for next week, we saw that it's in couplets because it's actually a poem or a song. So does someone want to read the first source that's on our sheet for us? Yeah, thank you.
And Moses came and spoke all the words of this song into the ears of the people, he and Hoshea the son of Nun.
Okay, great. Does anything pop out for anyone? And this is the verse in next week's Torah portion.
Well, two things. Number one, it's Moses and Hoshea.
Yes.
Now, Hoshea's name was changed to Yoshua, but that was back in Bamidbar, and here it's being used in Dvarim at that point. And this contrasts with what we're going to read in the next one, which is Moshe and the children of Israel.
Great.
Moshe was in Israel. So it's an interesting thing because I think it's the only time that we have Hosea mentioned with song.
Yeah.
In the Bible.
So we have the Moses and Hosea listed, which is going to transition of power, but not Joshua's name as was changed before going into the land of Israel, the story of the scouts, but back to the original name Hosea, and not referencing Moses and the children of Israel. And also something interesting about Baznei Hayam. Sorry. Do you want to share? Do we see that anywhere else about the ears of the people?
No, I don't know. What struck me about that, though, is that the introduction itself is poetic in that it says into the ears of the people. I mean,
Yeah.
where else would anybody perceive the sound?
Right?
It was superfluous. So.
Right. So why take that extra time to say that? And often I feel like we talk about different ways to describe the people, or that, they should listen, or their eyes, or they're this one, but something here about why into their ears? Are they supposed to hear it in their bones? So why in their ears? I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts? Is there any other way that they could have heard it?
It may be for emphasis, to try and say that it not only did they heard it intensely. It's kind of like with Nitzavim, where you say, they could have said, I stand, that way using obeyed, and it could just be that, well, they're standing but not really focused and intense. When it's Nitzavim, you're standing there in the presence of it. So this is perhaps talking about being in the presence of God's words.
The word shirah can also mean poem, and we depending on the context, or really depending how we feel, we often can translate like song, but it can also be poem. And I think it's so interesting that the verb to speak it by Yedaber is there, like speaking all the words of this poem, but a poem is like an elevated type of speech, right? And I just wonder how that makes us think about other forms of speech that aren't sort of like so artistic with that same verb by Yedaber. Are we supposed to be thinking of the text more from, as we often do, the sort of move from like a poetic standpoint? And to my only question is, I think so.
Yeah. When I think about why is it redundant to being that they were speaking in the ears, I think about, have you ever had something like ring in your ears, or like after the moment has passed, you can still hear that song playing in your ears, you can still hear someone's voice, but it should be like a memory in your ears. Hear it. Does someone want to read the next one from Exodus 15:1, Shirat Hayam? Yeah.
Then Moses and the Israelites sang the song to Hashem. They said, I will sing to Hashem, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and driver he has hurled into the sea.
Amazing. Has anyone ever seen this in the Torah, or it's printed sometimes in prayer books, where it's written as the splitting of the sea, the splitting of the Yam Suf? Yeah. Shir Moshe b'nei Yisrael. Anything that pops up here that seems interesting to you? Anything that question about? Okay, so we're going to move to the next one for the sake of time. Does someone want to read Exodus 15:15? It's a continuation of Shirat Hayam. Yeah.
So Miriam chanted or responded for them, and they sang for God has triumphed gloriously, and it repeats again that the horse and driver has hurled into the sea.
Amazing. So we talked before about why was it superfluous and redundant to mention that it was into their ears, but here we have just, 15 lines after the same phrasing. There's little questions about that. We think about in the Torah that there's no wasted word, no wasted line, that why I'd repeat again the same thing, but this time with Miriam leading people in song versus Moses. Does it seem like it needs to be said?
Well, I think song can often be used as sort of like a teaching device, a mnemonic device. So the fact that it has, particular structure and repeats itself seems like pretty characteristic of a song. So I wonder if that's sort of telling us like, hey, this was sort of a way of people to, and for us today to like learn our story and to sort of convey our story, even in the moment in which it was written and actually sung or said.
Beautiful. So what does Mishnah mean? Mishnah are to teach, but in repetition. So there is exactly that, the idea that repetition of this story was such a remarkable moment that they were celebrating, and they wanted to put down in time and become history and announce it, that there was like a repetition, a repeating of it.
I think to go back to Rabbi Berenbaum's point, though, that in verse 1 of Shirat Hayam, it's very clear that it's coming from Moshe, right? Az Yashir Moshe u B'nai Yisrael, and like B'nai Yisrael was there, but this song, it even says Ashir Ladonai, I will do the singing. Whereas then when it gets to Miriam, and I think this is some of what Nico was pointing out, is that it becomes a teachable moment such that then the people engage and they do the singing alongside, in this case, her, but also that which Moshe has said now becomes a song for them as well. So it starts off as this thing that's being shared to teach through song, but then as a way of kind of taking on that song into your own mouths. Miriam, it says Miriam chants, but it's not really what the word Bata'an means. And then it says Shiru Ladonai, right? They all sang to God, as opposed to it just being Moshe. That now they also understand why this song is necessary.
Right. The transliteration came from Sepharia, and as we all know, all translation and transliteration is interpretation. And just for those at home, the idea that it's a call and response, that Moses would have said it, and then Miriam repeated, and then the people repeated it with her, and it was in their own mouths. It became their own song, their own story. So, okay, we can move on for the sake of time. And someone can read from Judges 5:1.
V'tashor Devorah u'Barak ben Abinoam bayom hahu lemor. And on that day, Deborah and Barak, son of Abinoam, sang.
Nice. Are people aware of this, of Devorah's song? It's the Haftorah for Beshalach, and it's very beautiful, this idea that we often think that, there's a fear of women singing, and so I really wanted to bring in here the Miriam song and Devorah's song that we have in our tradition, women expressing their voice and singing, and that might be a reason why here it says she chanted on the previous page, not sing, because there's a fear of kol isha, of hearing a woman's voice, but we see that the women have always been very powerful in our tradition, and not just speak up, but also sing loud and proud. And so, for the sake of time, we can move on to Psalm 96, if someone would like to read that. Really quick.
Shir Adonai, Shir Kadash, Shir Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Sing to the Lord a new song, sing to the Lord all the earth.
Awesome, fantastic. Does anyone know where this psalm is found? In our Kabbalat Shabbat. Fantastic. So this is incredible that when we get to our amazing holiday that happens once a week, Shabbat, we're actually going to sing to Hashem, and we're also going to sing a new song. Now, I don't know about you, but weekly to have a new song, and let alone if I would say the psalm every day, doesn't that seem a little exhausting? Can you always think of a new song every single day? Sometimes I can't even think of something new to eat for dinner every day, let alone a new song. Yeah? All right, and for Psalm 98, if someone wants to read that for us, or sing it. Yes. Beautiful. So once again, we have in Kabbalat Shabbat, we should sing a new song. It's pretty impressive and exhaustive. Anyone have thoughts about this, of what this could mean? Does it always have to be a new song, or could it be the same song but sung in a new way?
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's the song is a new song for that day.
Yeah.
First song, first they get up and sing, rather than having to come up with a new song.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And so as we're entering into tonight's Slichot and Rosh Hashanah, we might feel, especially this year, that we're unprepared, or we have mixed feelings about it. We might be looking at the liturgy differently this year. And so it's the same song, but it's going to be in a new way that we approach it. And we spoke about how songs can be joyous, they can be marking time, how they bring us back to certain moments we connect to people that are our loved ones. And they can also comfort us in moments of hardship. And I didn't include this here, but there's a midrash that when the brothers came back and said that Yosef is alive, they came back from Egypt, and they wanted to tell Yaakov that his son was alive. They were worried it could be quite startling for him. He might be so happy, but he might also have a heart attack. So the midrash is that his granddaughter played the harp and sang the news to him to help ease the shock. So I hope that when we enter the liturgy for tonight, for Slichot, and for Rosh Hashanah, we find comfort in it. And then we also find a way to approach the same old liturgy, but in a new way, in an honest way, an authentic way of who we are now after everything has unfolded since October 7th. And I also wanted to bring in some piyutim from Slichot, from Idat HaMizrach, to look at. And I'm sorry, it printed quite small. You might need a magnifying glass for it. But it's really beautiful. It's Aninu, and it's petitioning God, our Creator, to answer us. And I encourage you, if you've never heard it before, to Google it after Shabbat and to listen to it. It's very beautiful. And just to see how in this moment of supplication, there's also hope and inspiration and determination to answer us. But we want an answer for everything that's happened. And it has a very beautiful, bittersweet melody. And I hope that we just, as we approach this new high holiday season, new because we're new and different this year, that we find comfort and inspiration in our music and our poems. And you have some homework. I left a lot of space in between the text that if you wanted to start writing some of your own verses, your own poem, your own song, and you can even write on the back page, who are you this year and what's your poem and your song? How are you going to mark time and express yourself as we approach 5785?
You've been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am, Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.